Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. In this zone, after a 1-week hiatus, Pete is back. Pete's new nickname is Rocket Man. Pete, before we get into any basketball, why don't you give us a quick synopsis of how things went down there?
Things actually went pretty well. The moon mission, Blue Ghost, launched on a Falcon 9 at 1 o'clock in the morning last Wednesday, and that was a clear skies. Got to see it all the way 30 miles up until it burned out, and is on its way to the moon right now. It's doing a low energy orbit, so it's going to take about a month to get there.
Wow.
It's doing higher and higher orbits to get out of the Earth's gravity.
Are these unmanned?
Yes. Yeah, this is an unmanned mission, and it's carrying 10 different scientific payloads. The main thing for that is to figure out what we need to do to build a permanent base on the moon. These are all scientific gathering instruments. Some of it's on the moon's surface, dust, composition of the dust, and then there's other scientific to see the gravitational pull of the moon, the magnetosphere of the moon. So they're trying to figure out what the moon, more and more study of the moon to find out how we establish a permanent base there.
I think I could dunk on the moon. But maybe it's like the 600 minus that might slow me down a little bit.
Yeah, right. You get the 1/6 gravity, then you're all set. And the second mission was a debut of a new rocket by Blue Origin, which is owned by Jeff Bezos, the guy behind Amazon.
Wow.
That is
billionaires fighting for space.
Well, it's the new frontier, man. It really is. This is called the New Glenn. It is a heavy lift rocket. It is 21 feet in diameter.
Wow.
7 meters. And it has a heavy lift capability. They were very ambitious. The main objective was to get their test payload into orbit, which they accomplished. The secondary objective, which they found out is very, very hard, is to land it back on a drone ship out in the Atlantic. They got to a point, I think, where they were going to fire into the rocket back up to get it to deorbit, and it blew up. So it happened. SpaceX had a mishap on theirs, too. Later on in the week, they launched Starship from Texas. The first stage performed flawlessly. It did its job, got it boosted up got the second stage boosted where it came all the way back and got caught by the tower. Second stage when they...
I saw that. That was cool.
Yeah, second stage when they were just over the Turks and Caicos. It was just about ready for engine cutoff, and they found out that there was fuel leaking into the void between the tank and the outer skin of the rocket, and the pressure built up, and it exploded the rocket over the Turks and Caicos. So something they had no problems with.
It's nice that they're unmanned when they explode like that.
Yeah. Well, they're
nice
not.
that there's no casualties involved in that, and we can conduct science without any human loss.
Yeah, neither one of those rockets is man-rated and won't be for a while.
Pete, I'm going to flip it up on you today, and I'm going to go into my college stuff first, but we're going to go to Pete's Corner right away. Beautiful segment of our show where we like to get Pete involved and have him pump out three-pointers here and see what we can do to answer them, see what light we can bring to it. So, Pete, let's go shot number one.
All right, here's the first one. It's a humdinger.
Okay.
In Division I college basketball, is the student athlete dead?
Oh. Yes and no. Yes and no. Because I don't quite know how much of this has permeated down. We know what's going on at the top levels. And what I wanted to also illuminate with people as well is there's two streams here, if you will, which the players can make money from. And I want to go back to, because we've been very critical of the NCAA. We've talked very harshly about some of the stuff that they've done over the years with athletes that could have earned money in other avenues, but were precluded from doing that because they signed the national letter of intent. Now we know why the NCAA fought as long and as hard as they did to keep that genie in the bottle, as much as their efforts were not aligned, I think, with law and legalese. I understand what they were trying to do, because now that the genie's out of the bottle, you have a revenue stream where they're saying some conferences are giving out revenue up to $20 million. That won't even cover your offense in the SEC. Okay? Yeah. So where does the rest of the money come from? Outside stream, NIL stream. And the thing is You have a gymnast at LSU, Livy Dunn, who's absolutely fabulous gymnast, All-American, great gymnast, but she could not have modeled under the old rules and made money that way. And so that's where the rub was on this side as well. So is Division One really just become a G League right now?
Semi-pro.
At least at the top it has.
Right.
But I don't have enough factual information to tell you how deep it's permeated to LIU, Quinnipiac, Fairfield, Manhattan College, and the like. I know that at the mid-major level, my alma mater, St. Bonaventure, is deep into NIL and have a payroll for the players. So I know it's hit that level, but I just don't know if there's a place left. Ivy League, is that a place where they haven't done anything? I'd be anxious to know exactly where the seepage has gone to. Did it go all the way down? I mean, are you getting guys at FDU that are getting paid? That's the lowest level of basketball. And at that same time, some of those schools are going to have a very, very difficult time formulating a revenue plan because they don't make money. Mm-hmm. A lot of them don't make money. So where your revenue plan is coming from, you may not have revenue. So therefore, you're going to be stuck in the second stream, which is going out and trying to raise significant NIL dollars from the outside streams, from corporate and from, this is what they didn't want because now boosters are just buying guys.
Yep.
And that always happened before, but at least there was a rub to it. So to answer your question, yes, and I don't know. Honestly, I don't know the seepage, but yeah, way up top for sure. Way up top, it's over. It's gone. It's over. Can you get it back?
Yeah.
Can you get it back is a different question.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to see some things now, you just saw some of the executive orders that came out in relation to gender, in relation to participation. I think you're going to see some other things change here as well. Don't quite know how we're going to get to that change, but I'm hopeful that we'll have some change. But Pete, that question had quite a lot of depth to it.
Yeah, it did. So following up on that, I watched a portion of the UMass game on Monday, which was on the USA Network. Now, I know they have all these big TV deals going on, but there was no one. They couldn't even hide it. There was no one in the stands. Is that a fault of the students being off campus, or is that just they don't have a lot of support?
You're talking about UMass?
Yeah, I think they were playing LaSalle, yeah.
Yeah.
It was a USA Network game.
Yeah. I was there.
Okay.
I was at the game. The crowd wasn't very good.
Yeah, and you couldn't hide it. Like normally you
say
can hide
that
it.
there wasn't student support, which is significant. But also I was there last night for the GW game, and there wasn't support there either. But the word that I got from people there was that the students at UMass had not returned yet.
Okay.
So I'm going to go back to a game for sure, later in the semester here, and I'll take a look. What I did say to some of the people that were around me at the game, because we had quite a few people of ours go to the GW game last night to see Coach Caputo. We'll talk about that hopefully at the end of the segment. But we went to the game. We had quite a few people at the game of our own. It just doesn't have a good vibration atmosphere to it. It doesn't sound like some of those other college environments do.
Yeah.
I know what St. Bonaventure sounds like. I know what some of the other places that they play against sound like. UMass has struggled since the building of the Mullen Center to really create that vibration in there, and also to fill the building, because 9,000 seats is quite a lot of seats. St. Bonaventure has 6, and it makes quite a difference. It's a little more confined. The crowd's a little bit more involved and engaged. But UMass has always had a struggle with a lot of, the Boston area, a lot of Massachusetts area is very geared towards pro sports. Boston College, UMass, they're kind of in that sub zone where, like, if you go down to North Carolina, Duke and North Carolina are, they're the number 1 and 2 thing in the entire state. So, nobody even knows what the Charlotte Hornets are doing right now. So a lot of it has a differential to be about where you are in your state also, and so this state's always kind of been driven, I thought, towards a more of an NBA NHL,
pro.
Major League Baseball market,
Yep.
and some of the college teams as a result of that, they don't really draw well, and it's rare instance up here where you see some of those home court advantages that are absolutely blown out of the building. On the high school level, you see it a lot more. But I was at the game, and what I said to everybody around me was, okay, this is LaSalle, not a marquee game, understandable. It was freezing, understandable, but it's also situation now. You come Wednesday night, GW, another league game. It's a good league game. You should have a lot of fan participation at that game. It's a big, big league game. What I said to people was, wait till it's Toledo. Wait till it's Akron.
Right. Who? What?
Yeah. Okay, Pete, another good one.
All right, so we're at the halfway point for most of the seasons for NBA and NCAA. Do you see anybody waking up that's still slumbering?
So let's take the
out.
NBA first. I think that you're starting to see some of the equation flip a little bit. Last year's formula is out. I really, really am worried about the Celtics.
Yeah.
They're having a lot of trouble with a lot of bad teams. And I think you're having the Cavaliers and OKC kind of run the baseline there and run away with things. But I think one of the real stories to me is, at least I'll go, I can't resist this, Pete, so I'm going to just jump into it. I don't know if people saw what the Celtics did to the Warriors the other night, but they beat them by 40 points in Golden State. And I think that was the Jason Tatum payback game because they went in there really focused, really geared up. If that's what they become and sustain, they'll be back. But right now, the NBA is really, really kind of all over the place where you thought some teams might be good and others are rising. And right now, I couldn't tell you.
I don't see any trends.
Who's going to be the champ? Who's going to be the MVP? I think we've done a little bit of a disservice in our conversations also in and around it. I don't know if we have. I think other people have. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Donovan Mitchell deserve credit for being MVPs because it used to matter if your team won. It used to matter if you had a really, really good year and a really good team and that you were the integral part of that team. It used to matter to that. I get Joker. He's got triple-double numbers. I get that. But I also think that we've kind of overshadowed those two guys. And right now, if I had to hone in my conversation for MVP, it'd be between one of those two guys right now. But what you're seeing in the NBA is that shifting. The Warriors are down. The Lakers can't win on the road. You have a bunch of different things where the Phoenix Suns are looking to trade Kevin Durant possibly. I'll jump into it right now because you and I predicted this a long time ago, Pete. With all of the crazy signings, the Celtics now, and I'll go into the paperwork here so I can get you the exact numbers, but their salary right now is in the $230 million range for the entire team.
How is that sustainable?
They are about, wait till you hear this one, they are about to get hit with a luxury tax of $280 million.
Wow.
You know what will solve most of that luxury tax? Trading Jaylen Brown. It's one of the only ways to do it. You had a battle between the young ownership there and the older ownership, the father and son. Brad Stevens up there, they were spending like drunken sailors. And now the check came. The check came to the table. Somebody got to pick it up. And with a tax, a luxury tax in the NBA that exceeds your total payroll, mamma mia.
Goodbye.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
Somebody's got to go.
No. So let's go to the college ranks right now. I think the Blue Bloods, I'm not going to name names here, Pete, but we all know that people were NIL before the NIL.
Yeah.
The under-the-table bag got dropped for a long, long time, way back to before I entered the business in the 80s. Okay? It's happening for a long time. But now the legalization of it has led to see the number one player in the nation sign with BYU. You're seeing some of the people that used to have full rosters of guys you would think, I wonder how they got him. Ooh, wonder how they got him. And then you would see how they got him, know how they got him. in the business, you're understanding how they got them, and that's what made them good coaches. But now that's missing because everybody can go get them. And now you're on equal footing. You don't have the best roster anymore. Everybody got a good roster now. Everybody can go get players now. Everybody got money now. So your money now ain't what it used to be. And if you're looking at some teams now, we're going to talk about this later in the show, Pete. Where is the return on investment? You spent millions, and you're 1-5.
I kept saying that, though, with the NBA guys. The NBA guys, I'm like, why are you signing for these god-awful high numbers? I'm like, how can they ever repay that much to your bottom line?
So I think that what it has done, though, and again, I'll double that back with a little bit of the binary equation of you're having television rule the roost now. Television is in charge, just like they used to be in Notre Dame football. All right? And so now you got a situation where television's telling these guys, put down the cupcakes, put down the cannolis, you're going on a diet, and you're actually going to go out and play some people in the early season. Because what happens years back, if you and I look back on the Super 25 from even 2 years ago, you know, an AP top 25 from 2 years ago, most of these teams never lost until they got into January. Most of them never left home.
Yeah.
They paid guarantee games, sat in there. It was only when the algorithm really came in that kind of forced a little bit of the behavior, because the algorithm was picking up on all the cannolis. The algorithm was picking up on all the cupcakes. And so when now you're going to the NCAA tournament and the tournament committee is relying heavily on the algorithms that are out there, they're starting to see your schedule, see it for what it's worth. And if you're a Power 5 team, they look the other way. If you're a mid, you get crushed. It's just the way it works. Powers of the weapons of math destruction, Pete. All right, Pete, can we jump in? Do we have anything else there?
Nope, that's the three.
I think we covered that pretty good. How about we jump into our college basketball Super 25 right away? We're going to switch up this week, and we're going to jump into college first, and then we'll finish with our NBA. But what a thing of beauty that is, Pete. Beautiful. I really took some time with this one because I had the 2 weeks in between, and I started working and shuffling, and it was interesting to me about how much movement could occur in 2 weeks. Because we usually do this week to week, and it doesn't necessarily, it's like watching one of your children grow when you're around them all the time. It has an ebb and flow to it that you don't necessarily pick up and feel. But right here, now you're looking at this thing and you're going, wow, this is something that's really flattened out, where you don't have a top anymore. You have a heavy middle.
Yeah.
You know, you have a very heavy middle. But with that being said, Bruce Pearl, Auburn Tigers, no question. Look at their schedule. Look who they beat. They're my number one right now. 17-1. The only loss they have was to Duke in Cameron. Iowa State, number 2. I'm leaving them right there. Everybody tried to jump Duke into that number 2 spot because so many people out there have Duke fetish. They just love Duke, and so they don't see it clearly. I get Duke. They're coming and everything like that, but the ACC ain't the Big 12 right now. Iowa State doing great. 16-2, both very credible losses. Duke, right there, John Shire, I was critical of the hire of Shire. And I'm going to have to stand down a little bit right now because the young man is forming well into the job. And his team is focused. Cooper Flagg is ready to be a wooden candidate, significant wooden candidate. And right now they're 16-2, Pete. This team, a lot of people slept on this team. I told you don't do it because the Gators got bite. They've got the best backcourt in the country. They have front line with size all over the place. Any one of these teams that you're looking at right there in that first 4 could absolutely win the whole thing. Any one of these 4 right here could absolutely enter into a Final Four situation. Then let's go to the next 4. Tennessee, 17-2. Took a little 1-2 punch last week. Bam, right on the chops. We'll see what Barnes can do with that. My experience with him is recalibration. Take the losses and make your team better as a result of it. Don't sleep on Tennessee. They have a very good backcourt as well. This is my hottest team in the country, though, Pete. Michigan State. They have not lost since 11/26.
Wow.
They stumbled a little bit early. People were shaking their heads going, Izzo, Put the dirt on him. He's done. He's not an NIL guy. He's not adjusting to the new world. Well, Izzo got news for you. Izzo's singing like Lizzo right now. 16-2, and they are on fire. Got a good shot to win the Big Ten, which is now the Big 22. All right. Alabama, Pete, they're hanging. A lot of NIL money there, too, man. They got an awful lot of NIL money. Do you say a Final Four run has to happen there with all that NIL bankroll they got? This is where the scrutiny comes in. This is where the return investment comes in. We're going to talk a little bit about that in a while, too, about some of these teams that have big bankroll that are really underperforming.
Yeah,
and
right.
the reason they're underperforming is because everybody else got banked, too. All right, Houston 15-3. Keep an eye on this team. What they did to the Mormons in Utah the other day was unbelievable. It was almost a hate crime. All right, they put it on them and held them under 40 points.
Wow.
Under 40 points. Kelvin Sampson's fired up, folks. Keep an eye on that team. Marquette 16-3. You got to be smart. You got to be Shaka smart. They lost a lot. Kolek, Iguodaro, they lost quite a bit. And he's got them recalibrated. Cam Jones also Wooden Award list, top of the list as well. Oregon, I told you Florida, I told you Oregon. Get behind that team, Oregon. They're good. And they're in the Big Ten, and they're able to hang on it. One of the things that they've been able to do, maybe a little bit better than some of the other teams, is they have not gotten hit as bad with that West Coast swing. Because when you come, this is a bookies thing. This is bookies way back in the day. And they used to do it with the NFL. And they used to bet West Coast coming east for a 1 o'clock game. Now, those football teams are in town 3 days before, 2 days before. So I don't know how much that really had anything to do with it. But now you got a basketball team. And Mick Cronin alluded to this from UCLA. We've seen the Statue of Liberty. We're in California. We've seen the Statue of Liberty 3 times this week. Here's the thing I wanted to say to you, Mick. Nobody made you join the Big Ten. Okay, St. John's, you got to believe, Pete. Patino's got them playing hard on the defensive end. They're very solid. Did a very good job in the second half and overtime against Xavier when they're not clicking with the shots and they have a tendency, this team, not to do it. Boy, they dug in on defense, played really well. Why not give Patino the shot? They're 17-3. This is real. Kansas 14-4. I don't know. I just don't know about this team. There's something missing, and I haven't been able to put my finger on it totally, but I don't have high hopes for this team this year. Mississippi State 15-4. Took one on the chin the other night, but that's going to happen in their league. That's going to go. 15-4. They're long. They're athletic. They're just a little bit dysfunctional. They got to tighten that up. Kentucky, 14-4. Pope is dope. Everybody loves this guy, and he's a good basketball coach. If you're the athletic director at Kentucky, and John Calipari just went to Arkansas, and you're looking at where their team is, and now you're looking at your Kentucky team, what they've done this year, and the way that they're doing it, you got to have a little bit of a smile inside that vest of yours. You're keeping it close to the vest, but you got to be smiling. You got to be smiling inside. Wisconsin 15-4. John Tanji is really doing a great job out there, really under the radar. Michigan 14-4. Change coaches, it matters. Excuse me. Change coaches and it matters. What do I mean by that? Some of these schools, look at Louisville right now with Pat Kelsey, absolute on fire. They're 15-5. Dusty May goes into Michigan, brings big Vlad Golden with him, turns that Michigan program around right now, back in a top 25 scenario. In 1 year, Pete. In 1 year, that team was on its knees. That's what the NIL and the portal can do for you. But those two teams especially. Mississippi, 15-4, very solid. Don't sleep on them. Clemson, I had to get some ACC rep in here. 16-4, and they're playing really good basketball. They wanted to fire Brownell years ago. He was on the hot seat, this, that, and the other thing. That's what I hope they look back on this in retrospect and just get a reflection on absolutely how crazy that is. What you better understand up at the top level before this carousel starts to spin, and it's going to spin, but what you got to get a hold of when this thing goes is there's not a lot of guys that can do that at that top level. If you got Patino, and you got Self, and you got Hurley, and you got some of those top level guys against everybody else, that's why they win. That's why they win, because their programs are better. And at that top level, I've seen it recently, watching UMass, watching GW at that level. Man, it's so physical, and it's a different ball game up there, folks. Completely different ball game. Texas A&M 15-4. It's a buzzsaw when you go to see them. They play so well on the road, too. That's what I love about them. They never, ever quit this team. Missouri, I told you about them. We gave you Florida, and we'll give you Missouri as well. Watch these teams. They're very, very good. We gave you Oregon, too. Keep an eye on them. St. Mary's 16-3. Pete, it might be gone, Zaga. Might be gone, Zaga. They're having troubles out there. I don't know. St. Mary's has eclipsed them. Jumped into the top of the WAC at 16-3. Memphis 14-4. Penny Hardaway, P.J. Haggerty, a Wooden Award candidate, and should be a really, really good candidate as well. His numbers are ridiculous, and one of the reasons they're doing well. Texas Tech, holding on. They got a rough road ahead of them. Man, I looked at their schedule the other day, and it almost made me cry, and I don't have to go. But here's two I'm going to throw at you, Pete. I'm going to go with Kelsey. This is the guy that turned down UMass, Pete. He walked in and walked out, and then went back to his job. Then wound up taking that gig, doing very well, always a very good coach, moving on to somewhere in Charleston, College of Charleston, I want to say. Does great down there, and now winds up getting that really, really big shot at Louisville. 1 year, turned around. Pat Kelsey. Sometimes, it's the things you walk out on in life that you say, wow, it really changes things. People were very critical of that move, but man, oh man, he's doing good. 15-5, Pete, at Louisville. They were absolutely sucking swamp water in the last 5 to 7 years. And I'm going with him, Pete. The UC Irvine, get a hold of this team. Maybe in your bracket. The Anteaters, boy, oh boy, 17-2. All right, here's some conference stuff that I got into last night. I'm going to run through for you, and we'll see what we shake out with it. George Mason of the Atlantic 10, surprise team. They are 6-1. Bryant in the America East right now, 4-0. North Texas. All right, you want to put a team that might win a first-round game in your bracket? Mark North Texas down right now. I watched them play Memphis the other night. They're loaded. They're really good, and they are talented. All right, put them down. All right, Fordham, A10. This is something I wanted to discuss. Fordham placed their coach, Keith Ergo, on suspension for 4 games for recruiting violations. So I wrote on Facebook that I assume you're allowed to pay them millions of dollars now, but taking them to Rigoletto's on Arthur Avenue for dinner is out of the question. But I thought about that, and I said, man, something makes me scratch my head there, Pete. And this is what I wanted to figure out. Fordham's doing terrible. They're 0-6 in the Atlantic 10. Mm-hmm. They have no upward momentum anywhere in the program that I can see. And again, they lost Kyle Neptune, and they lost some pieces there. They jumped on Ergo, and I didn't think it was a good idea. I watched him coach, and then I thought even worse of an idea. All right, but is this now a way? Because some of these guys have massive contracts. Mm-hmm. Some of these guys have payouts that these schools can't afford right now. You're talking about millions of dollars to walk a coach out the door who has 3 years remaining on his contract. Millions. Okay? The schools get a lot of heat for that too. Student fees, all that other stuff, paying off coaches, no bueno. No bueno. But is this a backdoor way, Pete, to get rid of your basketball coach now? Jump in with some minor violations, jump in with some stipulations, say he violated his contract, and then fire him for cause, and then be able to move on and get somebody else. I'm sniffing something here, Pete, and I don't know.
Yeah, I don't understand how you can have a recruiting violation if there's no holds barred anymore.
We're going to have to go into the handbook for that one because I'm lost too. I really don't know. And what did you do with them that was impermissible? I mean, they can get a Lamborghini when they go to these schools. I mean, I don't know. Okay, but they're 0-6. That's a bigger problem. UMass is 4-3. They've just won a couple of games. They beat Fordham, they beat LaSalle, and beat GW. I wanted to say publicly what a great honor it was last night to watch one of my former captains, Chris Caputo, danced the sidelines like a Lou Carnesecca type from Queens. Just a great event last night. We had some of our former players in the house. We took the entire team up there. It was just great. Got to meet with Coach after the game and just living the dream. What a great, exciting thing to live the dream. And for me, it's really exciting and gives great value and meaning for what we've done here and for what goes on in our life as well. But hats off to Coach Caputo and the Revolutionaries, and we really did appreciate being there. And it's almost like when I go to the games, Pete, and I watch Chris coach, it's almost worse than being at my own game. It's nerve-wracking. It's hard. I feel like a parent almost. So Miami in the ACC, oh my God, Pete, they're 0-7, and they have just fallen out of this stratosphere. They've lost like 15 of 16 games at Miami. Some of them very bad losses. I don't know what's going on down there. Obviously we do know what's going on with Larinaga leaving, but I thought they had a little something on that roster that could hold up for a few wins. Billy Courtney and the boys were struggling. BC in the ACC, 1-7. Pete, for the life of me, why can't this team win basketball games?
I don't know.
ACC, why can't you attract the best talent in the world? Do you think they're not paying? Some of the Catholic schools had a hard time going with the NIL. I know Georgetown dragged its heels. I wonder if Boston College and some of those other schools were not into paying the NIL right away, and they kind of got hit with that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Kansas State. Now, this is a big bag, Pete. All right? They got a big NIL bag. All right? They're putting up a lot of money into this stuff, and they were able to lure one of the best big men in the country to come across and play for them. No return on investment, Pete. 1-6. NIL, strapped. They are strapped with cash. Colorado in the Big 12, 0-7. They lost 3 NBA players. I get it, but 0-7's rough. St. John's in the Big East. They're in the top of the Big East, and they're 8-1, folks. 8-1. Seton Hall. This is why I bring St. John's and Seton Hall up. Conversation that erupted about Pitino with Shah Holloway being at Seton Hall and Kadari Richmond. Kadari Richmond used to play at Seton Hall. Was a great player there. Wound up coming over across the bridge to play for St. John's. Why? Because St. John's paid him more. Only reason. Same league, 30, 40 miles within each other campus, but they just had the bigger bag and they bought the kid. And Pitino was even alluding to it that he'd still be at Seton Hall if Seton Hall could have paid what we paid. He would have stayed there. But this is what's going on. That's a little bit of a microcosm as to what's going on right now. Seton Hall 1-7. They're on the flip side of this NIL. Again, Catholic school. Are they having trouble? Providence 3-5. Catholic school. Did they grab on this thing and say, I don't know if we want to pay our players? 3-5. I know Georgetown did. Michigan State is 7-0 in the Big Ten. Michigan is 6-1. Unbelievable. Rutgers 3-5. Two of the best freshmen in the country, and it has not really proven dividends. That league is brutal. William and Mary in the Coastal, 5-1. Haven't seen them up there in a while. My wife's alma mater, Stony Brook in the Coastal, 0-6. No idea in the world what they're doing in that league. No idea. Green Bay on the horizon. Dougie Gottlieb, coaching matters, folks. You can't grab a guy from a podcast and make him into a coach at the high D1 level when the guy hasn't even been an assistant coach. Dougie Gottlieb over at Green Bay. Gottlieb got to go, maybe, because he's 0-10 and 2-19 and said some crazy stuff about his opponents in a press conference there. Another JV move there. As a coach, longtime coach, you know you don't say stuff like that. Columbia, they got off to a great start this year, and I was so happy because I lived down there and I love Columbia. Used to go to the games with my uncle, Baker Field, the football games. I loved it. And they were off to a great start with a win over Villanova, but back to DFL in the Ivy League at 0-3. Quinnipiac 7-1. Tommy Pecora leading the way down there. My guy John Dunn, I love this. I coached John Dunn at Malloy High School. We won the city championship together. He's the head coach at Marist right now. They're doing good stuff. 6-1. Coaches, ADs. When you look at these guys that have been on the lower level at the MAC, in America East, other conferences like that, and done a very good job. You're not going to win the press conference, possibly, with one of these candidates. Your alumni might not jump up and down. You might not get a great NIL package, but your kids are going to have a really good basketball coach 365 days of the year, as opposed to not having a really good basketball coach 365 days of the year. All the ADs out there, I know there's a bunch of you. You're going to be looking for jobs. You're going to be looking to fill your basketball jobs because you just whacked your basketball coach. Okay? John Dunn, Marist, give him a really good look. He's a great, great basketball coach, and I can attest he's a great, great young man. Okay, LIU Brooklyn, Hot Rod Strickland, 6-0, coming out of the depths of the swamp water there, Pete. New Mexico, Richard Pitino, 8-1. Southern Utah, 7-1. Not bad. Here's one for you, Pete. Arkansas. Okay? You know I love this. You know I love cracking this dude. Calipari, served up 1-5 with maybe the biggest bag in the country. Who's got a bigger bag than Arkansas? Tell me about it. Who has it?
He's been
Who's
doing that
running
for
around
years.
with more pictures of the president running out of their pockets than John Calipari? He goes on the press conference here. He goes, I didn't even know we had a game Wednesday. I don't get it, folks. I really never have. Oklahoma 1-4 in the SEC. They have fallen like a rock in the ocean, right to the bottom of the league. They were off to such a great start. Maybe we gave them a little bit too much credit for those cannolis. Gonzaga, Pete, 5-2, 2 losses, first time in a long, long time. All right, here's a couple of baselines for us in the season so far. Pete, you alluded to the halfway point. Is Duke going to hyperspace in the ACC? Yes, they are. And everybody else is going to the black hole. Miami Hurricanes in free fall. This is what I alluded to, Pete. 1-15 in their last 16 games. NIL bag dried up down there. Now they're going to have to bring in a new staff, new people, new coaches. Everybody going to have to come in down there new, and they're going to have to turn that around. I don't think that's going to be as easy as everybody thinks. Did TV put the cupcake and cannoli crew on a diet? Is that a baseline? All those great games you saw this year were not by coach's choice. I can assure you that. The Houston Cougars, here's the score, Pete, 70-36. You know what Kelvin Sampson's been doing? Charge drills, dive on the floor for loose ball drills. Every other drill he can go to get his team tough, ready. 36 points. Unbelievable. That's a defensive effort that I can go. We alluded to this before. Michigan State, Izzo, singing like Lizzo, has not lost a game since 11/26. Houston has not lost a game since 11/30. It's almost 2 months, folks. Okay, here's some power carnivores for you. They call them conferences. Now I refer to them as carnivores, the power carnivores. ACC now has, in my estimation, 9. Count them, Pete. 9. Hasta la vista, baby. You know dance for you. You're out. You're already out. 9. Oh, that's half the league. Gone in January. You got maybe 5 on the fence. You got maybe 5 fence sitters on the fence. And you got 4 solid going into the NCAA that I can see right now. ACC has been in trouble for the last couple of years. This just didn't come now. It's been a while. Big East. 11 teams. You got 4. Bye-bye, baby. See ya. You're out. You got 4 fence sitters, and then you got 3 locks. That's not gonna pay the bills. That's not gonna pay the bills. All right, Pete. Let's shoot into, because we're running short here, getting really through this. Let's go right into. I'm going to go one more segment here, and then we'll go into our Power 15 with the pros.
Okay.
All right. But this is the one I wanted to say on the say goodbye to Hollywood segment. Okay. These are the Power 5s.
It's burning.
Exactly. These are the Power 5s that are now cooked in January. No shot. Miami, Virginia, Georgia Tech, Notre Dame, Syracuse, UNC, Kansas State, TCU, Seton Hall, Providence, Xavier, Villanova, Ohio State, Rutgers, UCLA, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, and Gonzaga. All in trouble.
Wow.
All in trouble. Coach K wants to talk about making a super conference of the ACC and the Big East. I don't know if he means everybody. I don't know if he means a select few.
The top half of both.
You know, the best of the best on your side and the best of the best on our side. I don't know what he means by that, okay? But that's disastrous, okay? Disastrous. You're seeing the carnivoring going on in the conferences. That's disastrous, okay? What they have to do, because here's what I want to point out to Coach K and to everybody else in this formula. What you're doing by doing that is just creating more of a fight. But we have to have some people at the table who sit there with some common sense and say, what's best for the overall product of the game of basketball? And let's work from that framework. What's best for the student athletes? And let's work from there. All you got now is this power shifting, power bumping, power grinding.
Here's the best that they're looking at. Take a look at that. That's the best. That's what the only best they're looking at.
Pete, the very first thing I said to you when we started this show was I never had a problem with the money. The money is good. The money's there. I get it. I never had a problem with that. It's the way they went about it to get the money and the way they went about it. You have a guy right now in your business. I'll call them all out right now. Okay, you have a guy in your business who vacated 2 Final Fours and then went and got the best job in the entire country. Left that job and got another job that pays just as equally as well to the one that he just left.
Yep.
His team's 1-5 and in the bottom of the conference.
Yep.
With the biggest NIL bag you got.
Yep.
Tell me, where's your veracity? Tell me, where's your legitimacy? Tell me that you're not 2 cha-cha steps from the NBA level of interest right now.
Again.
That's where you are.
Again.
It will buttress it, Pete. No question. All right, let's go Power 15 on the NBA side. So much going on over there, Pete. So much going on the NBA side. But we got shakeup. We got shakeup. We got makeup. We got breakup. We got a whole lot of stuff going on here, Pete. And it's just a wild, wild west show right now in the NBA. Here's the thing also. I don't get them. So many levels. But here's the level that, like, when you have people used to something, stay with it. Can anybody tell me when the All-Star game is?
No.
It's like in February sometime. And right now,
Does anybody care?
Look at the OKC Thunder. Right?
Yeah, they're coming on.
How much is 36-7?
That's over 40.
That's 43.
Yeah.
And you play 82 games.
Yeah.
And so why are we on the All-Star break now?
You know why?
This is the halfway point.
Nobody watching because of the NFL playoffs.
And also because of the cup. The crazy cup they got in the NBA.
That's
it stretched
true too,
it
yeah.
out as well.
Yep.
I don't get it. But let's roll into it, Pete, because it's been interesting. We got movement. I love a Power 15 that moves. We had a lot of static. The Cleveland Cavaliers just took it. They just took it, ran with it. Recently, OKC Thunder has sustained some injuries and gone into the 1-2 battle with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, everybody expected OKC to be at the top this year. Everybody had that expectation. When Holmgren went down, I kind of shook my head and I had to see, what was going to go. But they've sustained, done a very good job. But nobody, and I mean nobody, thought the Cleveland Cavaliers were going to come out and do what the Cleveland Cavaliers are doing right now.
Yep.
That's why I say Donovan Mitchell for MVP, OKC's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for MVP, because look at those records. Look at the level of accomplishment. And it's not like they're bereft for numbers. SGA is leading the NBA in scoring right now. Okay, let's take them through, Pete. I flipped them. OKC Thunder, they both have identical records. OKC's playing better basketball right now. Cleveland has been nothing but spectacular all year long. But they had back-to-back losses, just a bump back to the Hawks, which kind of made me shake my head there a little bit. And as I said, one of the baselines that we'll be watching all year is Cleveland for real? Or do we see them on a Power 15 in the middle of February in 5th place? That's what I'm looking to see. All right, but they're right there, 36-7. I moved them to the number 2 spot, and they're going to be 1-2, 1-2 for a while, because if you look right there on the loss column, the next team there is the Celtics with 14, and that's 7 losses in between. So doubtful that either one of those teams will pick up the 7 losses in between. So you're looking at a pretty binary equation up top there for a little bit of time, I think. With the Cavaliers and the OKC Thunder, they're making it exciting. The Houston Rockets, Pete, I moved them up. The Celtics got a better record than them, but Celtics are not playing good basketball right now. And I got to be honest, I like Joe Mazzulla, and he's got a ring, so you got to respect that as well. But once in a while, he appears like he's out there a little bit to me. Like there was a fight that broke out during the game the other night, a little bit of a scuffle, and he's out on the floor, kind of applauding it, happy that his team was excited to fight, where I thought they would be happy to get in a defensive stance maybe, but not so much. 29-14 for the Rockets. Ime Udoka right now got to be considered for Coach of the Year. Has to be considered for Coach of the Year with this Rockets team. The Celtics, 30-13. I mean, nobody's going to snivel over that.
Right, sure.
But you got us wet last year. You got us our appetite whetted last year, and we're excited about that. But right now, I don't know. I think the Knicks could catch them. The Grizzlies, 29-15, another NBA good story. Morant's been out for a while too. John Morant's been out. He actually eclipsed the number on the Embiid rule. He eclipsed the number of games out, so he can't be an MVP candidate this year. So anybody putting your SGAs and your homegrown, you're putting your SGAs and your homegrown people into that formula, Giannis, Joker into that MVP formula, you can take John Morant out because he's missed too many games. Denver Nuggets, 27-16, and the Knicks in the 6-7 hole here. Knicks have held on, doing pretty good. They're like a lot of NBA teams right now, having a rash of injuries, guys getting missed games, and it seems like the guy they missed the most when he's out is Towns. Denver Nuggets, 27-16, but I don't know, Pete. I just don't know. They don't have that Eye of the Tiger championship look that they had 2 years ago. Milwaukee, Doc Rivers saved his job at the Cup maybe, brought it forward here, 24-17. They're just like a one-man operation right now, though. Giannis is just carrying that load immensely. And now you got the Clippers and the Lakers, Pete. All right, the Clippers are holding on, 24-18. I thought they'd be 500 with the losses that they had, but sometimes it can be addition by subtraction. And then you got the Lakers, 23-18. They have a winning record, but I wouldn't say that there's any coach in the NBA right now that's drawing more scrutiny than J.J. Redick. He's got his own TikTok profile, and that people are just on there killing him every day. I think it's a little unwarranted, I think it's a little unwarranted. He's a new coach, absolutely new to the game. But their offensive stuff's been pretty good. It's difficult to coach effort. I'll say that. It's difficult to coach effort. You want your players to play with effort. You want your players to play like the game matters to them. And when you have players that aren't playing with that really good, exuberant effort, it's really difficult to coach that. Yeah. Really, really tough. And that's where the Lakers are. They don't have that exuberant effort. And we got a little something here. I'll look at it. Well, they're actually, I don't know, we'll get to it, but I'll give it to you right now. The profile numbers of the Lakers, efficiency ratings, offense and defense with LeBron James on the floor and LeBron James off the floor are higher with him off the floor, especially on defense. The numbers take a huge swing when he's off the floor and their defense comes out. Big swing. Big swing. Noticeable. Palpable. Indiana Pacers, 24-19. This is what happens, I think, when you get a guy who gets it. Trae Young gets it a little bit right now. He knows he has to make other players on his team better. And he's doing that right now with the Hawks by assisting. 20 assists, 22 assists. You see Halliburton back, not worried about his scoring as much right now, moving that ball, getting the guys the open looks the Pacers were famous for, starting to play a little bit better. Sacramento Kings, 22-20. That's an underachievement. That's an underachievement for me. They have a better team than that. Sacramento, for them to be right there, here's my surprise team of the whole year, though, Pete. We were killing this team last year. Absolutely killing this team last year. We absolutely had a category called Firing on All Pistons last year that went on for weeks and weeks and weeks. This is the most improved team in the absolute NBA right here. They are 23-21, Pete. I don't think they won 23 games all last year.
That's right.
No way. Right now, I got them in the 13th spot. Unbelievable. Cade Cunningham. Put his name on your lips, folks, for MVP consideration, because that's the guy who's driving this Pistons bus right now. Dallas Mavericks, Luka, Kyrie, injury city. They got some problems. They also got Klay Thompson. Wasn't in favor of that trade. The Timberwolves, this is a surprise team on the negative. I don't think they really, they're not hitting it. They're not hitting it right now. I don't know what's going on with that team. But I wanted to get into this a little bit, Pete. LeBron on, LeBron off. Here's them on. 110 offense rating, 116 defensive, and it's a net minus 6.2 with him on the floor. Now it's 112 on offense, 107.3 on the defensive rating, plus 4.7 when he's no longer on the floor. I got Prime Bird for you, Pete. And I got Prime LeBron. Okay? Prime Bird, 27.3 points. Prime LeBron, 26.6. Prime Bird, 6.8 assists. Prime LeBron, 6.9 assists. Prime Bird, 9.8 rebounds. He was a great player. 7.3 rebounds for LeBron. 1.8 steals for Bird. 1.6 steals for LeBron. I was shocked about that. And Bird also had him in blocks as well. Okay, here are the most career all-defensive team in NBA history, and the aforementioned LeBron James will not be on this list, Pete. Okay, interesting. And if you want to know why the Chicago Bulls had the great success that they had, I'm about ready to illuminate it for you. Jordan, 9 times all-defensive, leads the NBA. 9 times on the all-defensive team. Number 2, Kobe Bryant. He played hard on both sides of the basketball. 9 times. Kevin Garnett, 9 times. Gary Payton, 9 times. Timmy Duncan, 8. Scottie Pippen, this is why the Bulls were as good as they were. 8 for Pippen, 9 for Jordan when they played together. They're both on the all-defensive team. That's why they won, because they played defense. I was going to say it again, Pete. That's why they won, because they played defense. Chicago, the Chicago Bears, they're 46 defense. The Chicago Bulls, they played some great defense there. All right. So you got Scottie Pippen, Bobby Jones, Chris Paul, and Dennis Rodman. All of those people, with Rodman being in 7th, if I, as a coach, got to put somebody on a guy, lockdown, they got the best player of the other team, of all of these guys that right here that I'm putting on that guy, it's the Worm. Every day of the week and twice on Sunday, Dennis Rodman, best defensive player, one of the best rebounders ever in the game. Here's the check that arrived at the Celtics table, Pete. Aforementioned, $233 million in salary, $280 million in tax,
That's
luxury tax,
crazy.
$513 million. So that's why they're saying keep an eye on Jaylen Brown. He's the $50 million man that might be on it. Think of the myriad of issues that creates, though, Pete. Who wants him now? Because don't you get hit with a luxury tax too when you resign? It's just it's going to be. Who wants it now? You already created that. They have some problems going on, got different things going on with the league. Who knows? Let's look at the stats just very, very quickly in the NBA, and that'll close us, Pete. All right? I'm just going to give you the points. We got SJA 31.5, Giannis 31.5, Joker 30.1, LaMelo Ball likes to shoot him, and Jason Tatum in the 5 spot. All right, Pete, I got how many minutes?
I think you got about 4.
4 minutes. All right. So I want to go 2 and 2. Last night, took the entire team up. We went to UMass, saw the GW game. Okay. I wanted to just speak about that for a moment because personally for me, it's not the first time that I've watched Chris Caputo coach a game for GW, but it was the first time I had some of my assistant coaches there, some of my other former players there, some of our current players there, and it was a really, really cool night. And to watch, Coach do his thing on the sidelines, to live the dream as I said. That was really, really cool for me, really cool for Westfield State, and just a great, great representative of our university, always, always. And Chris Caputo was my first recruit, Pete, at Westfield State. I worked at Archbishop Malloy many years prior to that. And when I got the job at Westfield State, my mentor was the gentleman, Jack Curran, who worked at Malloy. Sure. And I called up Coach Curran, and I said, Coach, I just got the job at Westfield State. I need players bad. Who do you got? And I said, what about the Macbeth twins? And he said, no, they're going to Wesleyan. I was like, come on, Coach, it's me. And I soon quickly learned about Division III and Wesleyan as well. But he said, I have somebody else for you, and his name is Chris Caputo. And he said, someday he'll be the new Mike Fratello. And people won't really imagine or know.
That's a compliment.
It's a great compliment. But people don't remember Fratello from back in the day, but he was a great basketball mind. And,
yeah, sure.
And had many, many different roles in the NBA. So just to close on that, it was great to have my players go and see that level of basketball. The physicality, Pete, is unbelievable. The stuff that they call on our level and the stuff they don't call at that level, you have to really pack a lunch if you're taking it to the basket. It's one of the reasons I've kind of began to get this understanding of the three-point shooting as much anymore. It's because these guys under the basket are monsters. These guys are absolute skyscrapers under the basket, and if you go at the basket, you're being met by one or two of those guys, and the refs just aren't calling a lot of, they call it straight up. So if the big man goes straight up, we call it raising the roof. Big man goes straight up, they're allowing for a lot of contact on the shooter, and it's really, really throwing the shooter off. So that was a blessing, to go up and watch that game. I really, really was excited and it was pumped about it, And so I'm sure GW's got some great games ahead of them. I hope to get to see them again before the year goes out. But just a totally, totally cool moment for me as a coach and just for our program as well. But also for Coach Caputo, living the dream, having a great time out there on the sidelines. Again, he does remind me of Louis Karnasek a little bit. They both probably grew up, blocks from each other. All right, Pete, I'm going to close with this one, and I'm going to need everybody's help on this one, all right? Because I was at home, and the phone was ringing, and a lot of times now it's recruits, and I was home busy getting some game planning together. I didn't really want to pick up the phone. It was a Massachusetts number. But something told me that I should pick up this call. And I picked up the phone, and on the other end was this beautiful person by the name of Lily, who had informed me that Sacred Heart High School, my former high school, the Fighting Irish, was going to induct me into the Hall of Fame.
Ah, congratulations.
So I almost hit the deck, obviously, when I heard it. And I'm very, very honored, grateful, and blessed. And my family is so excited about it. And so I just wanted to give a shout out to Lily Tucci for that phone call and to the people at Sacred Heart who just do an amazing job down there, keeping that place alive, afloat. And on a sad note, the place that I got my first coaching job, Pete, All Hallows, where I started out as a basketball coach, John Carey, the head coach down there, hired me. That is going to close in the end of the year. So it's great sadness there as well. But to get the call from Sacred Heart and to go into the Hall of Fame, it made me think a lot of my family, a lot of the sacrifices that went into helping me be a good player and helping me to achieve the level of excellence that I did as a player, but also to my teammates, that we made that run there as teammates and had a great, great run there. I wanted to thank all of you. But what I do want to do also is to let people know that when people do something nice for me, I really, really feel it important to really do something nice for them. And so what I'm going to talk about later, and I'm going to have to clear this with Pete and our legal team, but I'm going to be doing some significant fundraising around my entry into the Hall of Fame. And we would appreciate any help that you all could lend to us. And if this is no good, it's at the very end. Pete can edit it and cut it out. But if it is, we're going to talk a little bit more about how I approach that and how I'm going to approach that. And I just wanted to say to my brothers and sisters at Sacred Heart, thank you. Thank you. I'm honored. And I'll be there in April to receive the award. And I do it with great humility and with great humbleness and grace. Pete, we're in the zone. And we'll see you next week, folks.